Welcome to Life in Business, the podcast for business owners who want the confidence to grow without having to hustle 24/7. I'm Libby Langley, your host, award-winning no BS business coach and Amazon best-selling author. Join me each week to learn simple and practical strategies for growing your business, growing your profits, growing your confidence, and for having fun in business too. Here's this week's episode. Hello, Libby Langley here with another episode of Life in Business. Going to talk to you today about how to go from unknown to unforgettable in 2 easy steps. No easy steps and not 2 of them, but still just to kind of talk you through the journey in business, I guess, really, because there's a lot of pressure, right, on being an overnight success. Download my blueprint and I'll show you how to make £1 million by the weekend. No, it's just rubbish, right? It's just rubbish. How I went from 3,000 followers on Instagram to 40,000 within 2 weeks. Okay, I think maybe you used AI or bought those followers because you haven't gone over 40,000 since you made that announcement 2 months ago. There's a lot of that, right? And as you know, I do not agree with that. I do not agree with kind of falsified nonsense sort of figures, right? Or proclamations and anything like that. It's like, business is hard. It is a difficult choice that we have made to be in business. However, it is also one of the greatest and most liberating life choices you'll ever make. So it's a good thing, but it isn't easy. And so going from unknown to unforgettable, it could take you years. It could take you years. It won't necessarily, and I'm certainly not doom-mongering here. But it isn't, the overnight success thing. I did an episode a few episodes ago about how to become an overnight success. So do please scroll back and look for that one because that's a good one. But the overnight success thing kind of, it isn't true, right? It doesn't happen. It happens for 0.0001% of people, and everybody else work flipping hard to get where they are. And that is cool, right? We're not against putting in the effort and getting the results. What we are against is hustling really hard. We're about the easiest and simplest way to get where we want to be, right? Yes, good. And so unknown, we're all pretty much unknown when we start our businesses in the business world, right? So, everybody starts more or less on a clean slate, right? A clean sheet. When I started my business back in 2011, 13 years ago this year, I'm such a grandma in the business world, honestly, it's so funny. But when I started back in 2011, I would say, I wasn't unknown, that I just wasn't. But I wasn't known in the business world because I didn't have my own business. So I worked for a college. I was a commercial development manager, which meant that I knew a lot of businesses. I knew a lot of business people. I knew a lot of business owners because they were my clients. I guess at college provided trading for them, organised networking events for them. And whilst the majority of our income, I guess, in the college was through doing apprenticeships for really big companies and kind of funded stuff like that. What I liked and where I ingratiated myself was with the very small business owners, people that I became friends with, people I could resonate with, people I could kind of, emulate, I suppose. And so I started off, I've always had like an instinct and an intrigue into new things and new ways of doing things and quicker and easier ways of doing things. And so in 2009, I really started to get interested in social media. I started to learn a lot more about the opportunities of social media. This is in the really early days, right? Instagram didn't exist. We had LinkedIn, we had Twitter, and we had Facebook. That's, MySpace had kind of gone. Friends Reunited had kind of gone. But yeah, we had those, and that was it. And I thought it was really interesting the opportunity that social media presented itself with. And so I did a lot of research, did a lot of work, learnt quite a lot of stuff. And that's I'm going to talk a bit more about learning stuff as we go through today. But this learnt a lot of stuff and started kind of just putting on courses for the very small business owners, just to say, look, social media exists and I reckon you could use it like this to promote your business. And the people that came to those workshops were the very small business owners who I'd met on the networking circuit. So I knew that they were interested in marketing themselves. I knew that they were interested in kind of connecting and collaborating and all that stuff. So I knew what my target market was. And there was nothing in this for me personally. I mean, more money into the college, right? I mean, I had, as the manager of the business commercial department, I had a financial target, right? So that was in it for me. That it all went towards the financial target. But honestly, it was because I was interested in it and it was something that I wanted to do. So these courses happened, and that was 2 years, 18 months, 2 years before maybe even 2.5, I suppose, before I left to start my business. So I'd had a period of time of getting known, right? And this wasn't all I did by any means, right? Still ran NEBOSH courses in construction and, all this kind of stuff, or managed the tutors who did. I didn't deliver on those. But it gave me a bit of impetus and a bit of testing the water. So when the time came for me to leave, I was able to say to a lot of these people that I'd met through the networking events I'd organised and also the external ones I'd gone to, and who'd been on some of these workshops that I'd run, do you think I can do this myself as a living? So I wasn't unknown when I started my business. But what, it's very, very different, right? And you will understand this. Going from having a job, I had a really good job. I had a good salary. I had a superb pension. I had like 35 days annual leave plus a bonus week at Christmas. That's like 7 or 8 weeks annual leave a year. Sick pay, 6 months sick pay, all this kind of stuff that you get in the public sector, right? It was great. And I gave it all up on a punt. I really did. To go from that to nothing. So I would say that was kind of unknown. It was a massive unknown for me. Even though I knew lots of people and was starting to meet lots of people, I didn't know what on earth it was like to run a business. And that was a massive unknown. And so I took the plunge. And in that first month, I invoiced £127. And I don't think I've ever been more proud of anything. Because it earned from day one, right? And pretty quickly I went to over 6 figures. It wasn't too much. It wasn't too much effort. It was a lot of hard work. I mean, I did 14, 16-hour days. I worked a lot. But I never felt like I had to try too hard to get the clients. My challenge was profitability, which obviously I help you with now from my own experience years ago. And I think kind of structure of the business and that and knowing what I wanted, they were kind of my issues. But earning the money, never an issue. Never an issue. And I became very quickly, and then my team, because I employed some people relatively early on, and there were 5 of us for a while, in the heyday of the business in that format as an agency. And I very quickly became known as the go-to person for social media. I was kind of everywhere, right? But everywhere was quite localized. And then the world was different in that not as many people used social media. So the world wasn't as an international a stage, and there absolutely was not as much competition. Absolutely no way was there at all. So it was quite easy to kind of make them my mark. I was the East Midlands, kind of in the East Midlands, and I set myself apart from the start because I ran a BTEC in social media for business, a proper recognised qualification, BTECs. I'm sure you've heard of them in the UK. And that was in 2012 I did that. So that was very early on in my business, but it dovetailed nicely from having worked in a college, right? Doing loads of qualification, offering loads of qualifications to people. And so there was that was extra. I worked, and that was all online, which then was quite unusual. And I worked internationally. I had some clients who were abroad. People that I, not through marketing particularly, somebody I went to school with, we'd kept in touch, somebody else who I'd known locally who'd then moved abroad. So it was very much kind of localized marketing, but I was absolutely the go-to person, right, for sure. And what's really interesting is that not very recently, a couple of months ago, I did a talk at a local event. And when I was introduced, the person leading the event, she said, I've known Libby for 10 years or so. And she last spoke at one of these events 7 or 8 years ago. And she was absolutely the go-to person. And I was like, that's kind of sad, because it's like she was the go-to person. And that is true. And I have to kind of own that, because that phase of my business and of my life ended a long time ago. So in 2015, I made my staff redundant. I stopped doing social media management, which was a lot of what we did. And I shifted my focus, or continued, I suppose, the shift of my focus from social media specifically more to what I've been doing bits and pieces of, which was the whole business strategy and business coaching, which is obviously what I focus on now and have done for years now. But it was, it made me kind of sad that she was, and she meant nothing by it, it meant nothing bad about it at all. But, she was the go-to person. And when you've had that, and then you do a shift, combined with the world changing and more people being online and that being the norm and everything that happened during COVID. So it shifted the world. It was kind of quite an interesting thing. But I think kind of the point of what I'm talking to you about today is going from that unknown to unforgettable, right? And the unforgettable is different to being the go-to person, right? This isn't about celebrity status necessarily, because I don't know, you might hate the limelight, right? You might hate it. The thought of kind of being invited to speak at a big event and standing on stage in front of hundreds of people might fill you with utter horror. So it doesn't have to be that kind of unforgettable, right? It can be absolutely a quiet, unforgettable, oh yeah, do you know what? Libby will know. Libby will be able to help me with that. I'm going to go and work with Libby. It's that kind of thing, that kind of like a quiet confidence in yourself that you're really good at what you do, and you've been in the game for long enough to know that people will find you. And it sounds a bit kind of putting your faith in the universe there, which I don't mean it like that. I just mean that you've put in the groundwork, right? And if you're half decent at what you do, then people remember that. And if you're kind and you're nice and you do what you say you're going to do, and you remember people's names most of the time, that sort of stuff, then that all just really kind of makes a difference. And this is a bit about consistency as well, right? And I don't mean consistently posting 7 times a week on Instagram. I don't mean that at all. I mean consistently showing up in your business. So consistently showing up in your business means that you turn up for stuff. You go to events, you talk to people, you do post on social media. You're just kind of around. And whilst just being around doesn't sound very strategic, it is part of a strategic plan, because just being around is how people get to know about you. So if you guest on a few podcasts or a few YouTube podcast of videos, if you post on social media, if you connect with people, if you go to events, if you do networking, you get known. And that's how it happens, a kind of multi-pronged attack over a period of time in the quietest and gentle or pushiest and loud way that suits you. And that's how you do it. That's how you go from being unknown to being unforgettable. And in the early days, and let me just say, unforgettable for the right reasons, right? Not unforgettable because what the hell was that? Who the hell is she? She said what? Oh, she was dreadful to work with, right? We don't want that kind of unforgettable. We want the good, we want the good kind of unforgettable that people just kind of know of you. And even if they're not in touch for a long time, the trust is there. So it's like a quiet trust, yeah? And that is what brings these things about. So I had a client who started working with me, I think this was 2 or 3 years ago? I forget, it could be, 2 or 3 years ago anyway. Now, Natalie, and she had, we were first introduced right back in the early days. Crikey. I mean, I would say probably 2012. And there was a possibility of us working together. We talked about me doing social media management, or my company doing social media management for her business. And it never happened. I vaguely remember that we had a meeting once so long ago, and it never came to anything. So, fine, that happens, right? But she was on my email list, and so had been getting my emails for over a decade. And then one day she just replied to one of my emails and said, I need help, and now is the time, and you are the person. And so this kind of longevity, it makes a difference, right? The consistency, even when you think nobody's listening, even when you think that nobody's buying anything, even when you pivot in your business and you perhaps lose direction a little, or you take, a year off, or I don't know, whatever, then people are still there. People are still there. And if you do what you say you're going to do, and if you promise what you're going to deliver and nothing else, be that free stuff or paid for work, then people remember that, yeah? And so they come out of the woodwork, and it's great. It's just such a good feeling, and it kind of validates everything that you've done, right? Up until this point. And obviously we don't want all of our clients to wait 10 years before they decide to work with us. But just to say that this, this is an example of like the unforgettableness, yeah? The trust that can be built there. And I think what's so important is that you have to maintain your integrity, right? I have never been someone who has promised overnight success to anybody, because I don't know. I mean, whilst I was successful really, really quickly and easily in terms of, I didn't find it hard to get clients, right? I don't know if I could do that, start from scratch and do the same again now, because like I say, I mean, Christ, I'm 13 years older for a start, so I do not have the same energy. My life is different. I guess my aspirations are different. My energy is certainly different. I don't want to do 14-hour days anymore. I just don't want to do that. And technology is different, and the world is different. So I don't know if I could replicate that again now. And so all of that stuff kind of has to be taken into account, that what I taught people back then and what really worked. I mean, you can't just post once a week on Facebook now and make £1 million by the weekend, right? But, that was potentially possible back then. So all of these factors need to be taken into account. And the message that I've always given right from the very early days is do one thing and do it well, and just keep blooming doing it, right? Because you can get known on Facebook. You can get known on Instagram. You can get known on LinkedIn. You can get known on TikTok. No, I don't like TikTok. But you can get known. You can get known on YouTube, right? You can't get known on all of them on your own. You have to have a team, and that becomes a different kind of beast. But social media is utterly fantastic in terms of getting known and being known. And so if you pick one, which is what I used to say to people in 2009 when there were only blooming 3 to choose from anyway, but get known for one and do it really, really well and just keep doing it. And that will make a difference, and get out there and talk to people. And also learning stuff. So I mentioned before about learning stuff. I love learning, right? I could just spend all day doing courses and learning things. And it doesn't really necessarily matter about what. But learning stuff, there is a procrastination warning there, that going down too many rabbit holes and buying too many courses and stuff, you don't need to do it, right? You can hide behind the fact that you're learning. So, I'll do that when I've learned this, and I'll do that when I've learned this. And it's like, no, that's not right. However, choosing some good courses that will give you skills that you know will enhance what you do, that's worth doing, right? Because being better and being a bit better and knowing a bit more than other people in your field gives you a winning edge. Absolutely, for sure. And if you're anything like me, you learn all the time. Pick stuff up. I've always been really good at picking stuff up really quickly. I can skim read stuff and then, oh yeah, I know that now. I'm quite good at learning by osmosis. Just signing up for something means I know about it. But that's my neurodivergent brain, right? That's a real kind of skill of mine, I guess. But it also makes a difference in my business, because I can pick things up from lots of stuff, and then I can use that in adds to kind of in my memory bank, right? Or as my EFT coach and gorgeous friend Jackie Akery says, my mind palace. And I can draw on it like Sherlock Holmes, with the mind palace. I can draw on it and use it within my work with my clients. And so that's really helpful for me to keep learning. It keeps me interested in things, and it helps me stay on top of what I'm doing. And the basics of business don't change, right? You need to know who you are, what you're doing. You need to know who you do it for. You need to know how you're going to deliver it, and how much that costs, and how profitable that is. And you need to have some sort of end goal, right? They're the core fundamentals of business, and they will never change. They have never changed, and they will never change, because business itself doesn't change. It's the deliverables, the way it's delivered, and the kind of tech and all this stuff that changes. But yeah, those are the core fundamentals of business. And that's a lot of what we cover in my group program, Confidence to Grow. It's built around these sort of foundations for business. But the learning new stuff just helps other scenarios that you might not have encountered yourself, and other people's learned experience, and how you can then tap into that. So I say learn lots of stuff, right? Go to conferences, sit through talks. Yeah, just see other people's perspective on stuff, and you can agree and disagree. And disagreeing is equally as important as agreeing, because it helps you find your route and your voice. And that kind of stuff is what helps you become unforgettable. So the more you have an opinion on one side of the fence or another, the more people will remember that, and the more people will be drawn to it. So, I'm absolutely all about working less and earning more. I do not believe in hustling 24/7. Ain't no one got the energy for that anymore. Don't tell a woman in her 40s that she needs to hustle 24/7. It's like, no, thank you. And have a side hustle? No, I don't want that. And I really strongly believe in that, right? And people know that that's what I believe in, that I will help you to be more efficient, work less, and to be more profitable, to earn more. They're the kind of promises. I'm not going to scale your business to $1 million a year. I'm not the person for that. And I'm not necessarily the person to help you build a really big team, because that's not what I focus on. So I like to work with the very small businesses to help your business become life first rather than business first, right? Your business needs to grow around your life, not your life to grow around your business. They're different ways round. And so kind of that's what I'm known for now. And if you've known me a long time, you will also know that I know an awful lot about digital marketing and was doing this stuff with funnels and automation and all that before most people had ever heard of it. But that's a historical thing, and that's kind of not what I talk about. I talk about now. I talk about the efficiency in business and the joy in business, right? And the happiness in business and how important you are in your business and all those kind of things. So it's been a shift. But along the way, I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful for the learning that I've had. I mean, blimey, when I did my MBA, when did I complete that? 2012, I think. And my dissertation was on social media marketing and social media marketing strategy and corporate communication. So I've literally got a master's degree in that shizzle, right? So that's like the epitome of learning. That kind of trumps any £97 course there. But it doesn't matter. And honestly, has that made any difference to my business? Probably not. But has it made a difference to me and having that like heavyweight validation and that heavyweight knowledge? Yeah, I guess so. I guess doing those courses has made a difference, but you don't have to do qualifications to be able to learn, right? There's sometimes tons of value in just watching a 30-minute talk at a conference. Sometimes that's all the kind of learning that you need, yeah, to inspire you and also to move you forward. So going from unknown to unforgettable is not 2 easy steps. It's all of these nuances that I've talked about. And it really isn't about celebrity status. Unforgettable doesn't mean celebrity status unless you want it to, right? It doesn't mean that. It means about being the best person for you and for your clients. And that's what's so important, this best fit. And you in your business, like business you, has got to be the best fit for you personally and for your clients. So you've got to make lots of people happy, your clients and yourself. And that's just so important in business, so important in business. So yeah, where are you on the scale? I'd love to know. Are you unknown still? In which case, what an exciting journey you've got ahead. Or are you already at unforgettable status? And I'd love to know what the journey was like to get there. So let me know. At Libby Langley on Instagram or search Libby Langley on LinkedIn and then hit me up on whichever. Hit me up? Who says that? Hit me up on whichever one you prefer. But I'd love to hear from you and hear what's kind of come up for you today. So thanks for joining me. See you next week. Thank you for listening to Life in Business. Please make sure that you subscribe or follow so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's show, please leave a review as it helps others to find the podcast and spread the word that there's an easier way to do business. If you want to chat with me about today's episode or suggest a topic for the future, I would love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram at Libby Langley. See you next week.